Hello guys and welcome back to a new video. If you will enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments to help me boost this video. Thanks. Story 1. AITA for having a dry wedding and serving only water for drinks. Throwaway only cause I don't want this on my main. Okay, so basically my husband and I are getting married later this year. Each of our sides of the family are fairly big. It will be around 100-150 people total. My husband and I are paying for this all ourselves, as well as my grandma, who said she doesn't care one way or the other on this issue. She just loves weddings. We have a lot of kids in our family, so we decided against making it child-free. But we did decide to make it dry, so there will be no alcohol of any kind in our wedding. Honestly, this doesn't have anything to do with there being kids there, but due to the fact that my fiancé and I don't drink. Nothing against people who do, it's just not for us, and we don't want to. On top of that, we only really drink water. We rarely, if ever, drink soda, so most of the time it's only water with the occasional juice and milk. We don't even drink coffee. So obviously the food, which is a part my grandma is not paying for, is going to be expensive for that many people. We are having our wedding catered, so everyone will have a good choice of food to choose from, but to drink only water will be provided. We don't want to have to pay for alcohol or soda. It is just a large added expense when we can just do filtered water for a much cheaper cost. Well, when family and friends found out, being got angry. Some didn't really care, but some are really upset about it, saying that I can just have an open bar so I don't have to pay for drinks. We could, but still have to pay for the bartender. And we just really don't want to bother with alcohol there. Or we should at least have soda, because how can we expect everyone to drink only water? The kids will be upset. The wedding will be boring. That this is not how weddings work, etc. So AITA, I didn't think this would be a problem. It's only water. I mean, don't most people drink water every day anyway? Should we pay the extra to have soda to make the family happy? Story 2. AITA for selling the house my brother and his family live in. Short and simple, I think. A few years ago, my brother needed help. I let him move into one of my rental properties, and we did it all legal. Lease agreement and everything. Because I was renting to him at a break-even point, we agreed that he was responsible for all the maintenance of the house and yard. Well, he has 4 kids, and the hot water tank isn't enough for his family, and he wants a new one. I told him to go ahead. He then proceeded to take the cost of the hot water tank and installation of that month's rent. I reminded him of our agreement. He said he wasn't making improvements to my property for free. I said that the old hot water tank was fine, and he made the decision to replace it. Big argument, and I didn't want to fight, so I said that he was not allowed to make any further changes to the house without my explicit agreement. So he stopped doing maintenance as a protest. The house itself is not pretty, but it is solid. It is old in the wiring, and it was not meant for all the modern electronics we have. He wanted to add a new breaker box and run more outlets. I said no thanks. I cannot afford that since I'm not making any money on the house. He started getting bitchy about it, and the rent started getting paid late. I tried talking to him, but he said that he had to buy some stuff for the house, and he was low on cash. So I sold the house. Oh, the house itself isn't great. It is in an older part of the city, and the property itself is 1/4 of an acre. Every time a house sells in the neighborhood, it is snapped up by developers and tuned into multi-family units. Or one guy built a McMansion on his land. I know a lot of the developers, and I didn't even need to list the house to have it sold in less than a week. My brother found out when he was served with an eviction notice. He called me to ask WTF. So I told him that the house was causing me headaches, and I had an opportunity to make some money, and I took it. He said I should have offered him a chance to buy it. I said that he was having trouble making rent. How was he going to qualify for a mortgage? He said I'm an asshole, and that he has the money. He was waiting to make me an offer. I asked him if he had money, why he was late on his rent. He started bad-mouthing me to all our family. A few of them took his side and tried to say I was being an asshole, so I offered all of them a chance to clear his debt to me if they wanted to share their opinion. None of them took me up on the offer. My parents are on my side, and they said I shouldn't have rented to him in the first place. I feel bad for my sister-in-law and the kids, but I'm not going to spend the rest of my life subsidizing his. Story 3. AITA for criticizing my roommate's grooming habits harshly. Hey all, at 26 meters currently live in a rented apartment with my roommate 24 meters. Recently we've been running into some issues because of his grooming. I occasionally noticed a funk coming off of him, and a few times it got bad enough to ask him to take a shower because it was distracting me and grossing me out. He apologized and said he had a lessened sense of smell, which made him less likely to realize he needed a shower. Sounded kinda BS to me, but he showered, so I didn't think anything of it. Our apartment has 2 full bathrooms in the hallway, and I ordered a bidet for mine. The other day, I was installing it, and he happened upon me doing so. He asked what it was for, and I explained. He chuckled and said, "You gay guys are something else." I laughed and said, "It's less invasive than toilet paper, and more effective." And he laughed and said, "Yeah, but I don't use that either." Something clicked in my head, and I asked him for clarification. Apparently he never wipes. He says he thinks it's gross to rub ass with a piece of paper that doesn't really do anything. He said no straight guy does, and it's not a big deal. I asked what he does if he eats Taco Bell or something, and he said he just takes a shower. I asked what if he's in a public bathroom. He says he waits until he gets home. I then asked if he washes his butt in the shower, and he said that the soap from his back drips down and takes care of it. At this point I was basically gagging, and told him he can't sit on any of the furniture I pay for, which is most of it, until he wipes and washes his crusty ass. He got mad and says the only reason I care is because I get fucked in mine, to which I responded that I'm a top. He got pissy and left after this, and I haven't seen him since. I called his girlfriend to ask if she has heard from him, and she said he came over, explained the situation. She got grossed out, and he left her place. I feel kinda bad for not viewing this as a he doesn't know the right way situation rather than the more antagonistic turn it took. AITA. Story 4. AITA for saying my son can make his own choices. My son is 18 and will graduate from high school in a few months. Lately he has been fighting a lot with my wife, and my wife isn't his biological mother, but she's been his mom since he was 3. A week ago they got into a big fight, and my wife got frustrated and yelled at him that she wasn't his mother. Since then he has been completely cold to her, and when he does have to address her, he does so by her first name. My wife confiscated the keys to his car last night, but I gave them back this morning because he didn't curse at her, just call her by her name. Besides, I don't want to drive all the kids to school and then pick them up. My wife is upset and said I need to support her and talk to him. I think it's pointless. He's 18. If he doesn't want to call her mom, we can't really make him. My wife says I am being a lazy asshole that just doesn't want to have a conversation with him. Maybe I am an asshole, but I did talk to him. He said he's not going to call her mom again, ever. Well, what am I supposed to do about it? Even if we find a way to force him to, he's going to school out of state, so what would we do then? Just seems like a pointless battle that will only create more animosity. But maybe that's just what a lazy asshole would say. Story 5. AITA for exposing my future Bill's shady past to my family. I'm 37 Fahrenheit, and I come from a close-knit family. I have 2 younger siblings, 28M and 27 Fahrenheit, and my sister recently got engaged to FBIL 23M after dating him for around a year. We all know him well, and I have always got along with him. He comes from a rough background, but he has always been very polite and charming. He doesn't talk about his own family or about his upbringing. My sister said it's a painful topic for him, so no one ever pushed. There was recently a family event which FBIL attended. He was quiet during the day. He is normally high energy and sociable, then disappeared for a while. When I went outside for some fresh air, I bumped into him. He was emotional and said it was a hard day for him due to negative associations. He ended up offloading some quite shocking things from his past, including that he has a history of very serious drug use, including needles, and that he has done sex work and PN men and women. I felt for him at the time because he was so upset, literally crying on my shoulder, but afterwards I felt more and more uncomfortable. I still feel bad for him since he clearly regrets it, but it's very shocking to find out he has that kind of history, and it does make me feel differently about him. Obviously, I told my husband what FBIL told me because I didn't feel comfortable keeping it to myself. I also told my sister because I didn't know how honest he had been with her, and it could impact on her decision to marry him. She was angry and said she was fully aware, and it doesn't make her think less of him. I know others might disagree, but I decided if my sister and FBIL weren't going to bring it up, then it was my responsibility to make sure my family had the information they needed to make an informed choice about what kind of relationship they have with him. My parents agreed that it was the right thing to do, and were grateful. My brother said he could see my point, but didn't think it was my responsibility to share that information. My brother's wife thought I was out of line. When my sister found out I told our family about FBIL's sketchy past, she was very angry. She is now refusing to speak to me altogether because apparently this has affected FBIL quite badly. They are no longer engaged because he thinks he's not good enough for her, and no one in my family has seen him since all of this happened. Obviously, that wasn't my intention, and no one said he isn't good enough. I think it's naive to pretend that you see someone exactly the same way after finding out they're an addict. Whether you like it or not, there are risks that come with that lifestyle, and relapses are common. I'm concerned that my sister will get hurt, and I don't think it's unreasonable for my family to have access to the same information I do, especially when they're inviting him to their homes, and there are children around, etc. AITA for informing my family about FBIL's background. Story 6. AITA not supporting GF's sister. This is a throwaway because people who know me know my account. Some info. I have been with my GF 27 Fahrenheit for 5 years. She loves her sister a ton, which is a good thing, as I believe supporting and helping your siblings, as long as it doesn't ruin your own life. You will understand why I say this later on. We just put down a mortgage on a house in the suburbs of a large city. At 28, I'm working tech as a software developer with a master's degree in computer science. I make quite a lot of money, so money issues never arose. GF doesn't work and does chores. Cooking in the house, both agreed on this. I was gonna propose to GF next year, but a problem arose about 2 years ago. For the last 2 years, probably longer, GF has been sending money to her younger sister, let's call her Emily. Emily got pregnant at 20 years old. Emily works as a waitress. The father is bouncing from job to job. Emily says that he is very lazy. He will disappear hours at a time without telling Emily where he's going or what he's doing. Emily has asked my GF on several occasions for money. My GF, being the nice and sweet person she is, says yes all the time. It started off as paying for diapers, no problem, and baby clothes, which also no problem, and daycare, which I just brushed off. I talked with GF saying we can't always pay for everything, and that helping out for a couple things is okay, but not everything. GF reassured me and said that it would be stopping soon once they get their feet picked up, which is fine. One day I hire a financial planner. The next day I get an email saying my account has sent approximately $50,000 USD for the last 10 months, and have around $20,000 sitting in my account. I talk with my GF, and she apologizes and says she knew that I wouldn't want to keep sending her sister money, and how she just cares her sister. We've been paying for everything: insurance, rent, car payment, daycare, clothing for all 3, dinners, dates, going out expenses. It is partly my fault because I never check my bank account. GF shows me text messages between her and Emily saying she needs the money. I then noticed a pattern where Emily would say, hey, can you send me $sign, $sign, I don't have money for. And of course GF says yes. I brush it off and GF says she won't send any more. The next day GF sends her $1,000 because they needed car repairs. I talk with GF and we get into an argument where she says she will always help her sister no matter what. I understand to an extent. We argue trying to understand each other's POV. As stated before, we had $20,000, and now we're down to $19,000. And then how about the next time? And the next time after that? On top of our own expenses. GF then decided that she needs some time alone, and that she will be at her mother's for the time being. Now I'm all alone in the house I thought I would live with the girl of my dreams. AITA for arguing with my GF for caring about her sister too much. Story 7. AITA for taking away my insecure daughter's makeup, and fashionable clothing for bullying her stepsister. I F35 have a daughter Jessica F15, and 2 years ago I married Joe N47 who has a daughter Bella F15. Joe and Jessica always have gotten along very well, and I presume Jessica and Bella would also bond, as they are the same age and Jessica has always wanted a sister, and I thought they did get along. At home they were always nice to each other, shared stuff, seemed to have fun. Recently I got a call from their school stating that Bella was crying in the office. Before I could ask her why, they told me that Jessica was bullying her for being ugly and unfashionable. Bella does have a bit of an alternative style, but I think it's creative and unique and not an excuse to bully her. I was absolutely horrified at this, as when I was a child I was also bullied for things like that, and I have always raised Jessica to be kind and empathetic. I picked Bella up from school early and took her out for ice cream and let her talk if she wanted to, and she confessed she didn't say anything because she wanted Jessica to like her, and she didn't want to cause any problems, as since her mom died she hasn't seen her dad so happy. I then continued to tell her I wouldn't tell Jessica that she told me, but tell her the school did to possibly mend their relationship, and that she can always talk to me whenever, as although I will never replace her mom, I want to be there for her no matter what. When Jessica came home, I told her that her behavior is extremely unkind, and I asked her why she did it. She then continued to say that she is right, and that Bella dresses like a freak and looks like a hideous rat, and that her friends were teasing her for having to live with her. I then told her that I would be taking away her phone for a week, and that she has to apologize to Bella. She then proceeded to say more nasty things about Bella, which then made me snap. I told her I would take away all her makeup except her skincare prescribed by her dermatologist, and most of her new clothes that I bought for her last week. She then started crying, which made me feel bad, but I didn't relent. One of her main interests is makeup and fashion, as she wants to be a stylist when she grows up, but since she is bullying her stepsister for a related thing, I thought it would be appropriate until she learns to show kindness to others. I have offered to set up therapy or try to discuss it, but she screams I am ruining her life every time I am near her. Bella appreciates my effort, and before anyone asks why Joe is not involved, it is because he goes on a lot of business trips, so he is currently away, and I am a Psalm. Story 8. AITA for making my brother-in-law look dumb by explaining a riddle. My sister is married to a know-it-all. She loves him and he is a great dad. However, he seems to think that because he went to college, he knows more about every subject than anyone. My nephew and I share a love of riddles and puzzles. I have a forge in my shop and I make blacksmith puzzles as a side hustle. When I come to visit them, I always bring one out as a gift for my nephew. It's just our thing. His dad thinks they are a waste. Anyway, I heard a cool riddle, so when I was over there, I asked my nephew if he could figure it out. The answer is 100 miles, and it is either very simple to answer or extremely complicated. It took him about 5 minutes to get the answer. Then he went to ask his dad the riddle. My brother-in-law, of course, had to try and show that he could do the math to figure out the answer. He couldn't, so he came over to where I was talking to my sister and nieces and said I was a jerk for giving the answer to his son to make him look dumb. I hadn't. I said that. He didn't believe me, so I made sure that my nephew had explained the riddle correctly. He had. Bill said there was no way his kid could do the math. I reduced the riddle down to 2 pieces of information. Then I got a piece of paper and wrote them down, and then I asked him if he understood. He said I was trying to make him look foolish in front of his family. I wasn't. It's just a riddle, and it's easy to understand why someone might think it requires an advanced degree in mathematics to figure it out. My sister asked me to make nice, so I did, but he is still salty about it. Story 9. AITA for only wanting vegetarian food for my wedding even though my fiancé loves meat. At 22 Fahrenheit and my fiancé 24M are getting married later this year. We come from different cultural backgrounds. He is a white American Christian, and I am South Indian Hindu. We are combining aspects of both our cultures for the wedding, and having 2 ceremonies on the same day with a reception dinner. My fiancé loves meat, and TBH I do too. that South Indian Hindu weddings need to fall on auspicious days, and meat is a big no-no. My fiance thinks our non-Indian guests, who are not familiar with the culture, will think we are being cheap by doing vegetarian food and not having alcohol. He's okay with no alcohol though. I disagree, since our food will be very nice. Traditional South Indian wedding meals have a huge array of dishes that are served endlessly on a banana leaf plate, and we will have Western desserts following the dinner. My fiancé and his parents, brother all enjoy vegetarian Indian food, so I'm not sure what the problem is. My fiancé thinks we should also include non-vegetarian Indian food, that would offend my entire family and plainly be sacrilegious. My family eats meat, but like Catholics on Lent Fridays, we don't eat meat on auspicious days like weddings. Am I the asshole for insisting on vegetarian food? Also, any ideas on compromises to suggest?